All right, we're going hot. Welcome, everybody, to our first episode. My name is Rock, and I'm your host of the Actions on the Objective podcast. On this show, I talk with other combat vets, and we discuss their experiences inside the battle space. We cover everything from those long days sitting on some fob just counting down the days to going home, to kinetic engagements with the enemy. And with that, our first guest inside the Objective Rally Point is Brendon Smith. Brendon served as an infantry machine gunner in the Marine Corps. He has deployments to Kosovo and Iraq, where he took part in the Battle of Nasiriyah. And today, he's here to tell us about his actions on the objective. Welcome, brother.
Welcome. Thanks, brother. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Stony.
So, we're going to start from the beginning. So let's go back to high school. Who was Brendon in high school?
Brendon was being formed when I'm not like this super dude, but my parents thought that football was too extreme of a sport for me to go into. So they put me in karate. And my brother, who was a black belt at the time, took me into the adult class at like 13 and kicked the shit out of me. And you had to get tough enough or just get kicked out. And you end up getting fast. And then you had all these people like watching those fucking Rocky montages. And they're like, we're going to train you. And I was their little fucking experiment. We live by the motto, if you lift together, the family that lifts together stays together. And that's not really true, but I got in good shape. Towards the end of high school, they sort of let me loose on the world and fueled me with a lot of alcohol and anger.
All the ingredients to be a Marine.
Oh, yeah. Always. I mean, high school, I remember, like, my sister was in a bad accident when I was 15 and was in a coma for, like, 6 months and shit like that. And we were at a party, and I was sitting there drunk out of my mind on the couch. Look at me. And this one football star, he went to Penn State, and he's like, the offensive tackle comes in. I remember him saying something about Brendon Smith, and I got up. I go, you got my sister's name in your mouth. What the fuck is your problem? He's like, oh, shit. And I was like a freshman. Just because I didn't give a shit. It amazes me to this day that there's so many people in this world who haven't taken a punch to the face.
Yeah. Good experience. It builds character. Everybody needs to.
Builds character in my ass. It hurts because everybody wants to hit me.
Yeah. But, the good thing, too, about, everybody should grow up getting their ass kicked at least once because you realize it hurts, but you're going to live.
Yeah.
And it's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
And you learn how to take an ass whooping.
Yeah. And you will.
Yeah.
Throughout life.
Because life will beat the shit out of you.
Life is the great equalizer. Fuck you. So that's who I was in high school.
And then from there, it was off to college.
No.
No?
I was going to join the Marine Corps after high school because I saw a bunch of my friends do it, and they're coming home, they're dressed blue. Look at me. And I wanted to, but my parents decided they wanted me to go to college. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to go to college, I'll follow my dad's footsteps. I'll be a cop. So I drank my way through college. I had a 6-year party. It was great. Epic. And I did shit that people only dreamed of.
And now, what was your college degree in?
First one is in criminal justice. The second one, my bachelor's, is in theater. But the coolest thing about it was, like, I didn't give a shit about the school, whatever. We just hung out in the city. And a lot of our friends, like Jamal Marsh, who's doing really well now, Cedric Hill, who's doing really good right now, Hassan Morse, who's, again, he was just on TV last year. We were like the princes of the city. We'd go out dressed up, suit and tie, everywhere we went. We were young. We were just 21, just owning shit. And then that brought me up until the end of college, where I just said, fuck it, I'm joining the Marine Corps.
Well, now, and I got to know, I'm sure people out there are going to be wondering too, and it's going to lead into a story later. But yeah, how does one go from studying theater to deciding I want to be a machine gunner in the infantry in the Marine Corps?
My recruiter fucked me.
The classic story.
I was graduating with a degree in theater. I had nowhere to go. The state police was just a fuck game. And now looking back on it, I guess my drinking had a lot to do with it. But I ended up not really knowing what I was going to do. So I was going to go back I was going to go to the Corps. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to keep the party going. And I did. But you know, the needs of the Corps come first.
Yeah.
So what happened was I went down to the recruiter and I was like, I'm graduating college at the end of May. I'd like to be an officer. He looked at me, he goes, no officer openings, but we can get you in enlisted. Okay, where do I sign? So I went to the recruiter. He got me to sign up for the infantry because I could see the world. I took the goddamn ASVAB. He's like, here's a list, 4 pages long, of everything that I could do, including the navigator in the back seat of a Harrier. What did I pick? I picked the infantry.
Yeah, you decided to be a knuckle dragger.
All I could be, yeah. So what made me go from Marine Corps into infantry? I went to basic down in Paris Island, and one of the times I was there, and this still continues with how I got fucked by the recruiter story. They call me up to admin, and I go up to admin. I'm like, ma'am, yes, ma'am. What do you need? She's like, shut the fuck up. You want to go into... She's just like, why do you have an associate's in journalism? Were you ever thinking about the officers training program? I'm like, yes, ma'am. I have an associate's in criminal justice and a bachelor's in theater, all of which paperwork I gave to my recruiter. And you want me to be an officer now? And she's like, well, it says here you have an associate's in journalism. Let me look into it. Anyway, School of Infantry later, we were doing the night navigational course where you're looking for the
points,
the booby traps.
Yeah,
I hit every one, and realized that since I'm in the infantry, I can't do land nav. Every time I did it, I got lost and had to find a road and walk home. Day and night. But yeah, so I was walking down this path, blew up every fucking booby trap along the way. And, sir, Sergeant Smith is dead, sir. Come out, and they're like, you know what? You'd make a good machine gunner. You're big, you're dumb, and you're in the middle of everything, so you can't really fuck up anything. So I took on that, and there I went. That's a long story for a little, a little topic.
All right, so get through boot camp. You're learning how to shoot, move, and communicate. And then you're off to your first unit. And where was your first unit at?
My first unit was Lima Company 3-2 in Camp Lejeune, where that was my party tour. And I was out of control. I got a picture you can put up on the podcast of me hanging upside down doing a beer bong off the third story with two guys holding my legs. It's crazy.
So, and was it in this unit then that you went on your first deployment to Kosovo?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, sir. I went to Japan. We did a 60-mile hike in North Korea in 3 days. That sucked. But the thing is, you got to do these momentous things. Like, I climbed Mount Fuji. Mama-san did it faster than me, but I got to the fucking top, and it was cold. Got to see Japan. You get to see everything and do all these cool things that nobody gets to do. And you miss that when you get out.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I try to do shit like this podcast or writing the books or writing the plays or doing things that I do to bring that back, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. I'm going to concerts. A lot of them. You'll cut that out in editing. But no, after Japan, we did a workup. Yeah, this is a good story. This is one they don't want me to tell. This one's called How 5 Men from my unit got stomach cancer from drinking the water in Vegas.
Really?
Yes.
Well, we got to hear it.
We were doing a workup for the float going into the Med for 6 months. And we go down to Vieques, which is the training island off of Puerto Rico. They have bombing, they do drop bombs, drop rockets, all that shit there, but there's also some ranges there. Somebody fucked up and brought the wrong water cans. We had the ones that had diesel in them.
Oh my God.
So they rinsed, quote unquote, rinsed them out. And then after it was deemed potable or drinkable, they dropped iodine tablets in it. I have 5 guys now that have stomach cancer that had to have parts of their intestines removed, all linked. Yes, I said linked back to those water cans in Vieques.
Jesus Christ.
But they just let it go.
Wow. Unreal.
Fun things. And then I went to Puerto Rico, which was beautiful.
Yeah, I bet that would have been nice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm married now. I can't talk about Puerto Rico. But then we got so then we spent 6 months on ship, and that was incredible. And I got to see Spain, Turkey, Greece, Thessaloniki, a small island off Greece, Crete, Malta, Tunisia, Italy, Sicily, all these places in the Med, and just do train with these people and hang out and party.
Yeah, that was one thing that, every now and again I sort of wish I was would have joined the Marines is getting to go, on the fleets.
Yeah.
Because I had an opportunity coming back from one of my tours in Iraq. They were sending all the equipment back home by ship through the Navy.
And they sent you.
Well, no, I was hoping. I was trying to volunteer for it just so I could get on a ship and experience that, And I actually talked to our Marine counterparts in Iraq, and I was like, hey, I got the opportunity to go back on a ship. What's that like? And the Marine guys were like, if you're not in the Navy, it's fucking awesome, But unfortunately, I'm guessing it was because I was an NCO. They felt I was needed elsewhere and did not get to go back on the ship with the equipment. But definitely something I wish I could have experienced. All right, so anything else happen in Lima 3-2?
Not really. I got out in 1999, painted water towers, started trying to get into, never was able to find steady work except for the Corps. And then I went into the reserves in 2000 because it was fun and I could hang out and get paid $300 a month to drink. Notice there's a pattern here up until 43. And we weren't going anywhere, doing anything. And then, but we were Golf Company 225 out of Dover, New Jersey, which is the closest infantry company and battalion surrounding New York City when the trade centers went down in 2001. In fact, I had 2 people walking to work at the trade center when they went down. Luckily, they were late for work.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of ties to the tragedy on 2001, September 11th and all that shit. And what happened that day is I was working at this bullshit place and I pulled in and I heard about the tower, the plane hitting the tower. And I said, this ain't right. And I turned around. They're like, where you going? I'm like, I got to go. And I remember driving home on September 11th and it looked like a fucking ghost field. Cars were just pulled over on the side of the road with this look on their face of like utter disbelief of what was going on. And I was doing 90 to get the fuck home. I got home, skidded into my front yard, left tire marks on my parents' front yard, ran in right as the second tower hit. And I'm like, yep, this is it. And I got my fucking shit on. They're like, where are you going? I'm like, I got to go to the reserve unit. They need bodies. I went there and for 3 days answering phones. Old guys like us, I'm old, I've been out for 15 years, I want to go back in and kill the fucking Iraqis. The Afghanis, I'm like, we got it covered, but we'll take your name down if we want.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that was just horrific. That's it. That day changed, like, it bothers me so fucking bad, brother, that a day that is burned into our heads and affected us so deeply is forgotten about.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
Like September 11th, what was that?
And if you were in at that time, the entire trajectory of everybody's military career changed that day.
Yeah.
I mean, before that, leading up to September 11th, I mean, most of your training was still Cold War style training,
Bullshit.
The clearing bunkers and, you know what I mean? Just the old shit, going out to the field forever because you had nothing better to do but train, and then, man, after that, boy, things changed a lot.
Yes, they did.
And the op tempo from probably for about the first decade, from like 2001 to about 2010, was just insane. I mean, and it's kind of hard to explain to people that weren't in during that time period. I mean, there's times you no longer get back from a deployment, getting very little downtime and you're going back on another rotation. I mean, the op tempo is just insane.
Absolutely. We went from after September 11th happened, I proposed to my wife that December, and shortly after Christmas, we deployed to Camp Lejeune for a year. In that time, we did our anti-smuggling ops in Kosovo, which were the biggest fucking joke that I ever participated in until Iraq. But as you know, the military's full of fuck yous, and no matter how bad you think you got it, they'll find a new way to fuck you.
Yeah.
But they sent us to Kosovo, and I think we were in the same place. You were in Bond Steel, weren't you?
Yep, Bond Steel when I was in Kosovo, and then down in right next door there in Macedonia, I was in Skopje.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were doing anti-smuggling ops, supposedly. We were, the bullshit. We were sitting on the Macedonia border while we're reading porn. Sitting there getting a tan, napping all day. And then they said, oh, we got movement in this building and we're going to go do it. Okay. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're doing something? So we get word that a company is going to go move into this house, secure it, search it, and then assess the situation and deal with whatever goes on there. Whatever. Then the battalion commander got a hold of it. And then the battalion commander, then the regiment commander got a hold of it. And by the time this was over, it was 100-vehicle convoy going down the roads of Kosovo. And if anybody knows anything about the roads of Kosovo, you can't go more than 5 miles an hour on them.
Yeah.
So 100 vehicles going 5 miles an hour around the mountain ranges into Kosovo. And we're sitting there, and I'm up on a turret, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is such a goat rope. And I'm looking at the house. I'm like, there it is. And I'm thinking, if we hit this with helos, we could have gotten everybody. But no. We came in, and these people got up from their chairs, looked, said, oh, shit, here come the Americans. And about 20 people bolted into the tree line. Did we go after them? No. We finally get to the objective. Actions on the objective. We get to the house.
I like the plug.
Yeah. There's nothing but women and children there. Where'd all the guys go? Anyway, they ran off in their little Adidas track shoes with their white tennis shoes and their gold chains. Oh, I love the fucking Eastern European look. But we go in there, and there's $25,000 in cash behind the toilet. American money. On the Macedonia border. We're supposed to be doing anti-smuggling ops, and 15 to 20 Adidas-wearing motherfuckers ran into the woods. So what do? We give them food and medicine and toys and clothes and made sure they were all well taken care of before we packed our bags and left.
Hearts and minds, brother.
Hearts and minds, you motherfucker. Oh, that was funny, though. It was almost as good as the time we paid the Iraqis in Iraq for fighting us. The Iraqi army didn't get paid, so the Americans secured a fucking soccer stadium in Nasiriyah and had the Iraqi army that we fought come in and get paid according to their rank Well, we security. It's like, oh my God, this is so fucking humiliating.
And then, where does that bring you back then? Does that, after that, does that?
That brings us to, I'm sorry, we went off topic.
Nope,
well,
you're
sort
all right.
of. It brought us back from Kosovo. My daughter was born in December of 2002. They got a letter. I got a letter not long after saying, "Don't unpack your shit. Don't unpack your shit. You're going to war." So we stayed home from December to March. Beginning of March of 2003, and the war kicked off March 23rd, 2003. And we flew from North Carolina into Kuwait and did our tour in Kuwait and Iraq.
How long did you guys spend in Kuwait? About a couple weeks?
About a week. And then when we hold on. We spent about a week in Kuwait. And I got the proof of this. I'll send you a picture of this too. Remember how they said there weren't no oil fires this one?
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. Call major bullshit on that. I got a picture of one shooting over my head. It was fucking hotter than hell. I mean, I really forgot my fear of hell. It was that hot, and it was shooting at a 45-degree angle as the 5-ton went underneath it. And that was our trip into Iraq. We came into Iraq right as the whole Jessica Lynch debacle happened. And those poor fucks. Whoever led that convoy should have his ball smacked off.
Yeah.
Because you don't go down to Ambush Alley and then turn around and go back down it. It's stupid. He was responsible for every one of those deaths and all the rapes and all the broken bones that these girls endured. It was horrible what they endured.
Absolutely, yeah. All because
he
I'm
was
guessing
scared.
A lieutenant got lost.
A lieutenant got lost, went up Ambush Alley, had all the ammunition because he didn't want the ammunition to fall into enemy hands in case they got attacked. Locked in fucking footlockers. They couldn't shoot back. What the fuck kind of leadership is that? Anyway, so while that was going on, we were pulling into this school, which is now called, infamously, Whitehorse. You ever hear of Whitehorse?
Yeah, I have heard of Whitehorse.
Whitehorse is where all the abuses started on the prisoners. And I'll talk shit on them.
This is before the Abu Ghraib
This
situation.
is the military police that thought they were badasses. And I mean, I've seen shit like military police pissing into fucking Iraqi hands, standing them up against walls, throwing water on them and keeping them up there for days with fans.
I remember a lot of those photos. They were circulating around the country. Yeah.
This all started at Whitehorse when they said this is acceptable behavior. You know why we won the first Desert Storm and not a problem? We took care of the prisoners.
Yeah. Yeah, and
you make the populace hate you, they will rise up against you.
Yeah. And a lot of it too, I mean, was just really bad actors on their part, because I know every deployment I had, whether it's an HVT or just anyone else that we detained, I can certainly say that we never treated them like that.
No, and it's not everybody. When I said the military police, I mean...
Yeah, just...
the fucking yahoos the yahoos that think, oh, look, I'm bad because I got a gun and I'm in Iraq and I can abuse people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see infantry doing that because life and death is our business.
Absolutely.
We have no time to humiliate people because if I'm killing somebody, they need killed because they're trying to kill me or someone that I love.
Yep.
And there's no animosity between it. These guys came over, they're young, they're dumb, and full of cum, and they wanna fuck shit up.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't sign the contract like I did and you did for infantry. So since they can't do infantry things, they want to do badass things, and that's abuse things. And that's not right. I believe if we treated their prisoners better, we wouldn't have had a lot of the fucking problems that we ended up having with.
Yeah, because particularly too, I remember when Abu Ghraib story came out. I mean, that was everywhere.
It killed me. In fact, I mention it in my first play that I wrote. We'll talk about later, called "Acceptable Losses." The Abu Ghraib jokes going on about that, and it's just the references. And I know they're all second-rate references now for Abu Ghraib because nobody knows who they are anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody knows Abu Ghraib. And to you and me, that's like the House of Horrors.
Yeah.
But so I'm sorry, we went off track again.
No, you're good.
We were stationed in school, and this is how the Iraqi army was treated. They were locked in at night. If they had to piss or shit, it was in the corner. How do I know? Because when we went in there was shit in the corner. Propaganda all over the walls, painted of some big Iraqi beating up a small American. But one of the things that tipped me off, and some of my brothers in 225 have this fucking picture, and if they can, I'll get it for you. You tell me if Iraq had nothing to do with the Twin Towers, why there was a mural of two Iraqis with two palm trees next to them staring across the Hudson River at the Twin Towers. This thing was on a wall in a school in Nasiriyah, Iraq, halfway around the world.
Yeah, I actually remember, and I have a picture of it somewhere too. Trying to remember the location. I want to say it was somewhere maybe in Baghdad. But I have a picture of, it was actually a mural of the planes hitting the Twin Towers.
Wow.
Painted on a wall there. Yeah.
So we, oh God, that sucked. We started pulling triple shifts. We stayed 2 days in the school. Then we moved out into the city. And we had a checkpoint at the city dump, a checkpoint over the Euphrates River, and a checkpoint at some other road I didn't go to. And then the compound. And you were doing 3-day rotations. Dump, bridge, compound, dump, bridge, compound, back, just rotation. And while you were there, you were pulling watch half the time. And then you couldn't sleep. I was hoping for people to send me sleeping pills because it was just so hot and you were so fucking wired.
Yeah.
I remember the first day we got there, a woman was burned up. They brought her into the medics. She was all crispy. And it's sad when you think about it. Like, I'll talk a couple stories in a minute of some terrible shit that haunts me. But seeing these things gives you a really callous sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just called the dead woman on the fucking slab crispy because she was burnt.
Yeah.
We were talking yesterday about wet dead bodies being dragged out of the river. I just find that hysterical. But
yeah, and it does.
It desensitizes you to everything.
Yeah, and yeah, once you've been there so long, every day it just becomes a norm.
Yeah.
So especially for like the infantry guys, the combat arms guys, special operation guys, you start to develop a dark sense of humor, and you almost have to develop it to get you through that.
Exactly. And there's a lot of psychology and about that, about PTSD and how that actually starts there. But we'll discuss that another time, because we could talk about that for an hour, and we don't got an hour. So major things that happen on the major things that happened there were my stone soup, where we would sit there and have, the beginning of the war. I'm sorry, I keep moving away from the mic.
Yeah, you was about a fist away.
Yeah, but in the beginning of the whole fucking war, we were eating nothing but MREs.
Mm-hmm.
We had nothing else, and it was really gross. So we had a checkpoint in the city dump, so people would come in with produce, their rotten tomatoes and garlic and onions and shit like that. And I would have my guys search them. They would sit there, pull them out of the car at gunpoint, put them on the fucking floor, guns in the back of their head, and I'd have 6 guys in the back stealing tomatoes, potatoes, onions, garlic, whatever they can get their hands on, and they just okay, you're clear, you can go. And meanwhile, I got guys coming up with a handful of produce, and I'm like, okay, let's see what we can make. I made salsa one time from the fucking MRE shit. I made this tomato soup. It was great. I just smashed and boiled down the tomatoes and all this stuff, and it actually is one of the. I'm not religious, but my friend Johnson, Courtney Johnson, he's a pastor, and he tells this story of the stone soup over and over again as his pastoral sermons. But he was so impressed with the stone soup that it just it brought up morale. Anything to bring up morale, because anybody that's been on deployment knows how long the days are and how boring the days are. And that all these, again, and it goes back to me saying about the 90 and the 10%.
Mm-hmm.
90% you're doing absolutely nothing, and then that 10% shit pops off, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, complete chaos.
And then it's done, and you're like, what happened? What happened was, what happened was you got your ass shot at. But we ended up, that was the stone soup story. The two major stories from the bridge was, you know how hot it was over there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 140 fucking degrees. And I'd sleep at night naked in my bag. No big deal.
Yeah.
Until 5 o'clock in the morning when you hear, stop. I said stop. And we're at a fucking bridge. And I get up and I look, and here comes a bus coming to try to run the fucking checkpoint. So my naked ass jumps up and lands on top of a sandbag with my bare ass hanging to the sun. And I'm getting ready to pop off, but I can't because I got a bunch of 11s doing a 45-degree angle on the side of the bus. And my machine gunner, God bless his soul, Junie, in front of him. Gondak said, fuck him, pop. And all I heard was Junie open up with that fucking 240, and that bus didn't go nowhere. And it was sad. We were lucky because we only clipped the guy, and it was a driver that was in that bus. But our sister company, Kilo, had the same thing happen to him like a couple hours before with a bus full of women and children. And they had to open up and wipe out the bus. So that was a big fuck. So we did Nasiriyah. I knew I had problems the second I came home. We got back in August to Camp Lejeune, and this one guy thought it was funny to wear one of them fucking smocks that the Hajis wear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's the name I want to get in trouble for. Anyway, he had a Haji fucking smock on, and I just went, Jesus fucking Christ, they're here. And it scared the shit out of me, literally, when I saw this. So I did what any self-respecting Irishman would do. I went and got a bottle of rum and a 2-liter bottle of Coke and made a bottle of rum and Cokes for the ride home.
Yeah, and when you first come home from a deployment, you're coming from operating constantly at 110 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Always vigilant. And then just to come back and turn that off, it's just not realistic.
I went through some hard times, man. We came back in August of 2003, and I was fucking pissed. Really pissed. I had a wife. I had a 5-year-old stepson and a 1.5-year-old daughter and 2 college degrees. And when I was told by my company XO, oh, gents, when you get back, there's jobs for everybody, the housing bubble burst. There's no jobs for anybody. I was making $6 a fucking hour pumping gas in fucking Hackettstown, New Jersey, trying to make ends meet for my wife. And I'm sitting there going, this is how you treat your veterans? I mean, at least in World War II, everybody had a job coming back. Yeah. I had 2 college degrees and 7 years in the Marine Corps and 3 combat deployments, and there wasn't shit. I finally ended up with before I jump, understand that I was dealing with everything that happened from 2001 to 2003 to 2008 with just booze. Straight, lots of booze. Every night, every weekend was blackout drunk. Party as hard as I could. Puke, drink, puke. Me and my buddy we had fucking fight clubs in his backyard because nobody would fight us. We'd fight each other. We had a drink called Homicide, which was 2 Stacker 2s and a bottle of Jägermeister. And after having that, you just want to kill anything. So we were pretty fucking hyper violent when I came back. But I didn't really get in any trouble. It's just, the problems didn't seem to happen until years later. Because at that time I was just trying to build a family and raise a family, and I went from job to job and ended up at this fingerprinting company in Jersey for like 5 years. And in that time, I'm sorry, you're going to have to cut that out. After I came back in 2003, Cedric, his kidney shut down. And he almost died. So he had to start going for dialysis. And I said, if there's anybody that's going to be a donor for you, let it be me. And it happened to be, I was an exact match. I ended up giving Cedric a kidney in 2005. And I immediately rebounded. He rebounded. And that's when I wrote Acceptable Losses. And for all the military people out there that understand, and you understand what acceptable losses are. This is the losses that you can incur before you are combat ineffective. And it's a pretty fucking hollow saying. And it's almost as good as when I got called up and asked if I wanted to be a combat casualty replacement. Okay. But, we did Acceptable Losses. It got performed off Broadway in 2006.
And this is you and Cedric that did this together?
Yes. It's just 3 stories about me and my life in different areas, but told through different people and how they deal with it. And it helped me deal... Well, no, I think that's what started my fucking can of worm, my Pandora's box being opened. Because right after that, I hit my first trip into the psych ward. Got on meds, wrote a second play that I never published, but a lot of people that read it really like it. It's called The Anchor House Boys. And then... around 2008, I got a job with you at the USP Lewisburg.
Mm-hmm.
And worked there for a total of 8 months. I still remember our first fight at the cafeteria. You picked him up, and I had slammed him into the ground, and we walked him back, the inmate, back to the fucking infirmary, and he was like, dude, did he hit me that hard? Yeah, he did. It wasn't me. But got the job at the prison, and that just blew my fucking head open. It was like being in combat all over again. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready to be in with the prisoners. I wasn't with how loud it was, the smell, the violence. I wasn't used to it. I wasn't ready for it. It sent me over the edge, and I got 100% from the VA, which I thought would be great. And then my doctor got me on Social Security, and I thought that would be great. And for the next 6 years, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it was every day, and it was getting really bad. I was making stupid decisions. But in that time, I started having the 2005 to 2010, trying to get my meds right, taking them half the time, not taking them the other half of the time, drinking. And I had pain in my knees, and the VA gave me, this was at the time when opiates were candy for everybody. And I had knee pain, and they offered me 180 Vicodin a month. I like taking them 20 at a time. It was rough. That got hooked on that. The doctors there hated me. This is all up in Williamsport. I tried to get these doctors to give me perks and fucking oxys, and they're like, dude, you have a sore back. I'm not giving you oxycodone. I'm like, why? What is your problem? I'm like, you're drug seeking. No, I'm not. But, so I'm not allowed to go up there anymore.
Well, and that brings us really into a good segue that I know you wanted to get into.
Yeah.
Veteran addiction issues,
Oh,
veteran
Jesus.
mental health. Because a lot of guys go through it transitioning, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
About 2 years ago, I worked at a place called White Deer Run, and I was doing the Veterans Addiction Program there. And I learned so much about PTSD, what happens, why people try to mask it with addiction, how opiates work, why they do what they do, how they're the most evil fucking thing that we ever did. And it pisses me off. Addiction problems, there you go. That's how I just told you how the VA dealt with us when we came home. Was no, they didn't know how to deal with us.
mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about combat vets with post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, well, and yeah, they definitely weren't prepared because, I mean, you think about it, until Iraq and Afghanistan, God, I mean, the last major combat operation was Vietnam. I mean, there was things that went on in the 80s, Panama and Grenada, and 90s. You had the Gulf War, but it was short-lived. You know, you had, different skirmishes and things like that going on. But to have a long, sustained combat operation where you have tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of Army and Marine vets coming home and flooding the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Flooding the system. But even before that happened, 2004, when I came home and went to the VA for the first time, I went and I saw the doctor, and I told him some of the stuff that was happening. And he didn't even look at me. He just wrote out scripts. I wasn't taking fucking Seroquel or any of the little drugs. They were giving me Thorazine and Haldol. And I'm walking around doing the Haldol shuffle. I'm a zombie. But they hit me with the heavy stuff right off the bat, and they didn't give a fuck. They just kept throwing them at me. Before I got off all the addictive pills, I was on Valium, gabapentin, which is Neurontin, it's nothing big, Vicodin, Percocet, just a whole bunch of all these fucking drugs. Like, why you give me Valium at like large doses? And I'm a big guy, give me more. So they do. And I had fun for a while, but then I realized it was really causing a lot of fucking problems. And my pills were leaving me by the fucking handful. And I realized years later it was my son and his addiction. Thank God he pulled out of it. And that's the thing about addictions. Those are my stories. 2010, I stopped drinking. I wanted to see how long I could go without it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, it ended up, I lost the flavor for fucking alcohol.
Yeah.
I used to love beer. Like, I used to love Heineken. That was my water. Can't even drink it now. Can't even look at it or taste it. It just makes me want to gag.
Well, and it's amazing, though, too, because, I mean, as you know, quitting an addiction
is no easy thing.
Fucking hard.
I got my son now quitting cigarettes, finally. And as I said yesterday when we were on the phone, I credit you for me quitting smoking, which I believe is the hardest thing that I've had to do in my life, that taught me and you know it. Once you quit, There's nothing you can't do. You're like, holy fuck, I'm free. There's nothing I can't conquer. I had an operation by the VA. They took out all my teeth because of the Depakote. It helped rotted my gums. So my bottom, I had dentures put in, and my bottom dentures, I had implants put in. Do yourself a favor. Research any procedure the VA wants to give you. I didn't know. I didn't know that they'd give me a fucking Ativan and tell me, okay, open your mouth for 4 hours as we cut down to your gum, into the bone, drill into the bone, put pits in there, sew it up, and all the while you're awake going, This is absolutely horrible. But you learn this level of discipline, of self-discipline, because when you break an addiction, you break a substance's control over you. We'll talk about this later, but when I was a counselor, there's two things that happen in addictions. You're normal, and then you use a substance. Doesn't matter if it's cigarettes, doesn't matter if it's Red Bull, doesn't matter if it's heroin, fentanyl, whatever. And the first couple times you use it, you're fine. But at some point, this is where it gets fucking psychological. The addicted self gets born. The addicted self is the alternate personality that craves the drug, that makes you do anything. Hunt, kill, fuck, suck, get the drug. It don't matter. And when that addicted self is born, you have to kill it. Mm-hmm. And it'll always be there haunting you, but you have to kill it. And there is no going back to any of the substances ever. Because once you do, you're back to square one with all the fucking withdrawals. And they're horrible. They're horrible. One of the things that I think we should stop with veteran suicide, but it's something that's really, really, really impacted both of our lives, even though we haven't really talked in like 10 years. We know and feel the impact of veteran suicide. Mm-hmm. It's horrible. The epidemic is horrible. I've lost 5 guys. My best friend, I talked to you about him before at the bridge that opened up on the bus, Lopez, Junie was my best friend, and he took his life. And after that, I lost. It was him taking his life that saved mine from ever thinking about suicide again. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the issue with veteran suicide, I mean, it's a huge number, right? I mean, they say, like 22 a day?
22 a day.
And, yet you don't realize how, it's like a freaking grizzly hanging on your back. I remember through my first few deployments, I mean, it wasn't that I didn't believe in PTSD, but I just didn't believe it would happen to me, but, you start getting into deployment after deployment after deployment, and watching your guys get wounded, watching guys get killed, and one day it will just creep up on you.
Yeah.
And, my last deployment, it crept up on me, and absolutely horrible. Yeah, it
crept up on me halfway through the deployment when we moved to a compound in Nasiriyah, and it was just an abandoned ice factory. And at that point, my back had totally blown out. My knees had totally blown out. I was using my gun, my rifle as a fucking cane to get up out of the kneeling position. And I knew I was starting to have problems. The shaking started, the jerking movements. I tried to hide it from people, but after a while, I don't know if I used my back as an excuse to not go out anymore, but I ended up just falling apart towards the end, and they were like, my CO was like, you can come home with us or you can stay here. If you stay here, if we send you to Kuwait now, there's no telling when you're going home. If you come stay with us, we're leaving in like 3 or 4 weeks. You make the choice. So I sucked it up and I stayed there. I didn't want to fucking live in Kuwait. And that started a lot of the problems with PTSD and addiction because I drank. Mm-hmm. I've always drank to escape. And a story I said right in the beginning of this was my sister got into an accident when she was 15. She was 17. I was 15. And she was in an accident, and I dealt with it by drinking. It was just my family was Irish Catholic. The only thing we could do was drink. We can't do drugs. We can't do anything else. My father was lieutenant in narcotics, so it was drink or whatever. So I learned to drink to cope, and then when the pills came, it was even easier to cope. And then there's your addictions. Mm-hmm. And then you got to strip yourself of them to get on with life. And that's where I'm at now. I was able to get rid of the cigarettes. And when I was able to do that, it's like, holy shit. I can do fucking... I am the Lizard King. I can do anything. No, it's just being able to overcome such an obstacle. It helped me, even though I worked at White Deer for a year, it helped me help others overcome their addictions. Mm-hmm. And if it is just for a month while they were there, I was able to keep them clean for a month. And when they came back, I was like, hey, welcome back. Like, what do you mean welcome back? I'm like, you're not dead. Like, oh, well, I was. They brought me back with Narcan. I'm like, yeah, I know, but hey, welcome back anyway. That addictions and not being able to deal with the PTSD, the mental issues that happened to us, being combat vets, lead us to addiction, trying to self-medicate, and when that doesn't work, suicide. Why suicide? Everybody says, oh my God, he killed himself. As I said before, we're in the death business. Mm-hmm. We live or die. It's just us. It's just a thing. And it sucks when our brothers and sisters kill themselves. But to them, it's just a thing.
Yeah, well, and it's part of
just an end to the pain that's here. And it's sad that that so many people do it and that it does affect so many people. I never believed that suicide would affect me until Junie and Scott and Chris and Meeks and Scanlon overdosed or killed or fucking suicided to death.
Yeah.
They were just...
And you're a part of that warrior culture, right? So PTSD in that culture is always going to have a stigma. You know, I mean, I think they've done a lot in the years to kind of...
To stop it as much. I don't...
But
the thing that pisses me off about the culture is you're not looked down anymore because you have PTSD. But
There was a time, definitely, yeah.
no, yeah, there was a time. But what pisses me the fuck off is everybody thinks that because you're a vet, you have PTSD. But it is an epidemic, and more needs to be done by the VA. Instead, like, I finally, after all these years, found a good counselor. And I've been seeing him for about a year now, and that works, but not everybody works.
Mm-hmm.
The VA, you can't sue them. It's like food grade D, but edible. And it's like, this is what happens when socialism takes over your fucking healthcare. And I could go on and on and on and on about the VA, but we'll do that on another show.
So, yeah, you wrote the book, and I started to read it, Tattoos and Scars. Really good read. And I know you said you had no intentions on getting it published, but
it's out there for anybody who wants it. They can just, I don't know, email you at the radio show, and I'll just shoot them out a copy of it. It don't matter to me. It's the reason why I wrote Tattoos and Scars. It's two reasons, three actually. One, because I'm an egotistical bastard and think people want to read about my life. Two was to do it, just to do it, write about me, write a book. And the third one was I wanted a reason for my kids to read and start establishing roots and a family name for themselves. I want them to know who I am, warts and all. I mean, there's shit in there that I haven't told anybody, but it's what happened in my life.
mm-hmm.
And these are the things that I've dealt with and how I've dealt with them. And at 51, I don't know what happened at 50, brother. My fucking switch got turned off. So I wrote it. It's a legacy. Hopefully one of my kids will pick up from it and go on with it. But in the meantime, that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, well, like I said, I haven't finished it, but what I read so far, it's a good read, and definitely think maybe you should look into a publisher.
No,
I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there.
If we can find one, I'll take it. If somebody out there wants to read it and wants to publish it, be my fucking guest.
Well, hey, brother, thank you for coming in and doing this, man. It means a lot.
It was a lot of fun.
And if you like this episode, feel free to breach that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the show on social media platforms so we can continue to grow this channel. And don't forget, you can find us on our YouTube channel and on Spotify. That's Actions on the Objective podcast. And thank you for listening, and I will see you on the Objective.